People thought I was going crazy. I ended up having blood test upon blood test upon blood test. My symptoms were getting worse and worse and worse. I was getting really bad headaches. I was getting bad neck pain. I was getting blurry vision. I was getting heart palpitations. I felt like I was having literally a heart attack. It started going into joint pain. I felt like I had the flu, and I would tell the doctors all these symptoms, and they would just say to me, "You have 2 little boys. I think you have anxiety right now." And I was like, "This is definitely not anxiety. I know what anxiety feels like, and it's definitely not that. There's something else wrong." Test after test came back. Everything was coming back positive, which you think would be great to hear, right? It wasn't, because I knew something was wrong. So went to the emergency room probably about 6 times between August of 2014 and January of 2015. Nobody could find anything wrong. Nobody thought even to test me for Lyme disease. It wasn't until February of 2015 that a friend from high school had posted something on her wall, and I was like, I need to message her and find out a little bit about what she's going through, because I feel like I'm going through the same thing. And I messaged her, and she came back and said, "You have to get tested for Lyme disease. It sounds like you have Lyme." In the meantime, between that time, I had to take a leave of absence from work because I could not function, literally could not get out of bed. So everybody kept saying, "Oh, now you're depressed and you're anxious," and I was literally getting mad at everybody, including my family, because the people that you want to support and love you the most were not believing you, and it was really frustrating. So I finally said, I'm gonna have to be my own advocate here. And this is only one file of paperwork that I've had done, one file to figure out what I had. And so I went to the doctor, and he called, and I said, "Can I be tested for Lyme disease?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, we never tested you for that, and you do have some symptoms of Lyme." And so the next day he called and he told me my test was negative. So I told the girl, Tracy, who told me about Lyme, and she said, "You need to get a copy of that blood work ASAP and show me a copy of it." So my husband drove to the doctor's office, came back, and when I looked at my paperwork, if you look on here, I don't know if you guys can see this, okay? Everything on the top says negative. I don't know if you are seeing it the right way. Oh, believe me, Peg, I found a new doctor. I will not go back to him ever again. If you look on the bottom here, for one of the bands, Lyme Band 23, it's circled positive there. And when I showed Tracy that, she told me that Lyme Band 23 is Lyme specific, and there's no way that that band could test positive unless you had Lyme disease. So I called my doctor back, and he told me, according to the CDC, for that test, you have to have 2 positives in that area and 5 positives in the area above it, which I showed you I was all negative, to be classified as having Lyme disease, so there was nothing he can do for me. Great. So Tracy told me about this lab called IGeneX in California, and you have to, of course, pay out of pocket for it. And she told me exactly what tests to get. And I finally, after all of this, in June, I found a doctor that would draw the blood for me, because doctors won't draw the blood for you because they feel like you don't need it. So in June, I found somebody to draw my blood, and it takes 6 weeks to come back. And in the middle to end of July, I got a letter in the mail with my blood results at that time. And if you look here, I was not only considered positive by IGeneX at that point, I was also CDC positive. So all these plus signs right here are where I tested positive for Lyme. Okay, that's double positive, mean I had it really strongly. And that's 1 positive where I just tested positive. So it took over a year for me to get a diagnosis. 1 whole year of me feeling like I was going to literally die every single day. I would pray every night that I didn't wake up. that I was going to wake up. Mike, Nicholas is calling you. So one thing I learned is that when you have Lyme, unless you see that classic bullseye and then get on the medicine right away, it goes chronic very quickly. And so after a year, medicine, antibiotics would not have done anything for me at that point. So I went the alternative route, and I found a natural Lyme doctor in Connecticut, and I would go see her, and she put me on supplement and protocols after protocols, which I'm sure you saw my post last year of a million things that I had to take 3 times a day. It worked to a point, but after that, it kind of did not work anymore. She helped me greatly. She taught me a lot about Lyme. She told me the foods to avoid. So if anybody feels any kind of inflammation or that they might have Lyme, you need to eliminate dairy, red meat, sugar, gluten, and caffeine immediately. All that deals with inflammation, which Lyme is all about. She got me off to the right start, but then there was a point where my body just stopped. So it was October of 2015 last year, and I had to go get blood drawn again to just see things. And when I walked into a lab, I was with my son. I went to a lab that I never ever go to before. It was just there, so I was like, let me get this done now. Walked into the lab, and there was a guy sitting behind the desk, and he's like, you have Lyme? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, have you ever heard of ozone therapy? And I was like, nope. And he's like, well, ozone is going to kill it. He's like, here's this doctor's card, call his cell phone, and he will call you back and answer all your questions. So I was like, okay. He's like, by the way, he's like, I never work here. I go, I've never been in here. It was kind of ironic that I met him there that day. I called him up that night. It was Halloween. On his cell phone, left him a message, and he called us back that night. I was sleeping already, and he spoke to my husband for over an hour and a half on the phone that night. He got me right in to go see him, and since then, it's almost been, I guess, a year come November. I've been doing IV ozone treatments every day. I just started going down to 2 or 3 days a week. Luckily for me, he is in the city, but he lives in Westbury, where he opens up an office in Westbury, which is on my way to work between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning. First come, first serve. So I literally get there at 6:30 in the morning. Wait for him to open at 7 so I could be the first one there so that I could drive and make it to work by 7:45 for my first period class. He's helped me tremendously. If it wasn't for him, I don't know where I would be right now. So I really owe my life to him. He has really got me back to where I am. He's got me working out again. He has me functioning every day, living my life, doing things that I did normally with my children. And he really has helped me. Like I said, in this week alone, I had 3 people message me about Lyme disease and questions. And so what I can say is that regular testing that you would get done at a doctor's office is so not reliable at all that it's almost a waste of time. If you feel that you have Lyme disease, if you have symptoms of Lyme, hold on, I'm going to answer that in 1 second, Colleen. If you feel that you do have Lyme, I suggest that you order that kit through IGeneX. The kit is free. You could go on IGeneX.com. And you want to get the Western blot, IgG, and IgM tests done. And it takes 6 weeks to come back because it is the most reliable test. And like I said, I took 3 different Lyme tests through regular labs and never tested positive, except for that one band that I showed you in the beginning. They all told me I was negative. And then by the time I tested this lab, it was all positive. Does the ozone 30 only work with Lyme, or is it something? Oh, no. It works with everything. He has cured so many things. A lot of his patients that he does have Lyme disease, but there are people that go for MS, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, I'm trying to think what else, cerebral palsy. He's gotten somebody with MS that was in a wheelchair, no longer in a wheelchair anymore. The one thing is that whenever you do anything alternative and natural, you have to pay out of pocket for it. So insurance does not pay for it. So people can only afford up to so much money. I think over the last 2 years, and this is no exaggeration, I've spent close to probably $35,000. Yeah, you heard me right. $35,000. In this year alone, from January till, what are we in right now? October, I've spent probably about $20,000 in just my IV ozone. Luckily for me, my insurance does pick up the ozone and covers 80% of it. So if it didn't, I don't know what I would have done, because I don't know if I would have been able to afford doing this treatment. So for me, it worked out. It was like really meant to be. But like I said, my symptoms ranged from just a basic headache to my worst symptom that I still get at times. I get really bad internal vibrating and tremors. It started off with, I'm trying to look for my symptoms list. It started off with, it felt like a cell phone vibrating in my chest, which everybody thought I was going crazy because I would try to make them feel it and they couldn't. Yeah, definitely look into ozone. DIV ozone you want to look into. And then it started spreading throughout my body. It's almost as if, I try to explain it, as if somebody took a tuning fork and hit it, and then you feel that vibration. Well, that's what I get throughout my whole entire body. It's gotten much, much better, but that's still one of the symptoms that stays with me. Will I ever be cured? It's funny, they say once it becomes chronic, you kind of live with it for the rest of your life, that it can go into remission. This doctor, his name is Dr. Robbins, he truly believes that he can cure me. It's hard to tell. I have not retested again. He wants me to retest once the year mark comes up to see if there's any changes. He wants me to get tested for the co-infections, though. He said it doesn't matter what the Western blot says at this point, because I already tested positive, that chances are that those will never ever go away. So it really goes by how I feel. Like, he doesn't tell me you need this many months of treatment and it's going to be gone. It's kind of like he says I tell him when I'm going to stop. So I've been feeling good and I've been winding down, but he says you have to be careful with that too, because it can be in remission and you don't want to wind down too much and then it totally take over again and then be back at the start. So he says before I really start winding down, he wants me to retest for specifically co-infections like Babesia, the Mycoplasma, the Bartonella, which I know I definitely had even without testing, because I just had all the symptoms for them. When I originally did the Lyme list, when I printed it up the first time and I was reading all the symptoms to my husband, he was like, I don't understand why any doctor never said it right away to you, because I had all of them. So these were some of the symptoms that I lived with every single day. Headache, tingling of the face, stiff neck, sore throat, get twitching of the muscles. I got really nauseous. I lost a ton of weight back in 2014, literally lost about 20 pounds. Difficulty breathing at night, night sweats was a huge one, heart palpitations, I could not exercise at all, chest pain, the rib soreness, I was getting mood swings. Of course, I was feeling depressed and having anxiety at that point, not because that's what I was dealing with, but because people were telling me that I was okay, so then I was starting to get that. Over emotional, I could not sleep at all. I literally would be awake all night, and obviously if you don't get any sleep, you cannot heal. I was feeling as though I was losing my mind. I really would say to my husband, maybe I had a nervous breakdown. I have no idea. I could not work, like I said, so I had poor work performance. I had to take a leave of absence. I was very distracted, confusion thinking, brain fog, double vision and blurry vision. I had eye pain, joint pain, swelling, stiffness, muscle pain and cramps, numbness in my body, tingling. I would get burning sensations in my head that would wake me up in the middle of the night that I was on fire. The tremors, dizziness, lightheadedness. I fainted twice in my kitchen. These were all classic symptoms of Lyme. I'm trying to think what else here. Extreme tiredness. Symptoms seem to come and go and change, and that's why everybody thought I was dealing with anxiety and depression, because I would say I felt one thing one day and then the next day it was something else, and they all thought I was making it up. And I was like, no, really, I'm not. And, you know, even my husband started to not believe me. And he was like, I don't know what to tell you anymore. So I literally had my parents telling me that it was in my head. You know, I had my, you know, even my in-laws telling me. I mean, everybody was like, you need to go talk to somebody. My doctor made me, got me in touch with a psychiatrist, was like, you need to see a psychiatrist. So I felt like I was literally losing my mind at that point. I did see somebody, and she was like, this is not anything. She's like, this is definitely something physical. She's like, I really don't know why you're here. And I was like, you're the only person right now that has believed me so far. So I didn't last with her very long, because I would go there and I would sit there and say, I don't know, I don't feel good. There was nothing else. You know how you feel the day the doctor put their hand on my knee and said I wasn't crazy? I broke down and cried. Yeah, it really, Colleen, when I got the results and opened it up, when I got the results and opened it up, I had so many emotions running through. One, I was like, I told everybody so. I called my parents up immediately and was like, I told you I was going to find an answer, and this is what it is. I was crying because I could not believe that nobody caught this earlier. There was just so many emotions going through. I know, Henry, I'm so happy that I was able to help you guys out. Seriously. I feel like that my husband tells me all the time that I was supposed to go through this to help so many people, and you can't even imagine how many people I've helped through the years so far. I wish there was more I can do, but I don't even know what to tell people, because I'm living and learning this every single day. So really, that's basically my story. So my suggestion to you guys is, if you are dealing with something that nobody can figure out, don't just believe that you're crazy and that it's anxiety and depression, because when a doctor can't find the reason, it's just so easy to say that to you. You have to almost be your own advocate for everything, and I'm so glad that I had my husband that was kind of like standing behind me and said, whatever direction you want to go in, I'm going to be behind you. He's like, but I don't know where else to go. And I'm so grateful for Tracy, who like kept me on that path to keep looking into Lyme, because if it wasn't for her, I probably would have stopped, and I don't know what I would have done. Some ways that you can help it, if you do know that you have Lyme, or if you feel like it might be Lyme, like I said before with the nutrition, you want to cut out what I said, the dairy, red meat, sugar, gluten, and caffeine. You want to try to make your body as alkaline as possible, because bacteria like that can't live in an alkaline environment. So you want to drink a greens drink. I go to Fountain a lot. I drink their greens daily. You want to eat a lot of leafy green vegetables. You want to really make your diet as high alkaline as you can. I mean, you could Google a pH alkalinity chart, and it'll show you everything that, you know, you should be eating. You know, the acidic foods versus the alkaline foods, and really try to balance it out. Aw, I love you too, Steph. I miss you. So, you know, that's one thing that you really can do. Again, like I said, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just mind-boggling, this whole thing, because the tick problem is really bad this year. Unfortunately, these little suckers don't die. They just stay like dormant for a little bit, and then they come out. I actually was just reading, and somebody was just telling me today that the deer are actually on the move right now. So there are a lot of ticks around right now. So you really have to check every single night from head to toe. I'm paranoid. I mean, my kids will look at me and be like, Mommy, that's high grass. There's probably ticks in there. I have them so aware of it. Yesterday, Nicholas wanted me to take him bike riding on the bike path, and I was literally paranoid, but I can't just live my life being paranoid all the time. So we did. We went on the bike path, and we were on the bike path for about 3 miles, and I was starting to have a little bit of an anxiety attack, and I was like, all right, Bob, we're going to get off here, and we're going to take the streets the rest of the way back. And as soon as we came back, I checked him from head to toe, checked myself from head to toe. you know, and luckily there was nothing on us. But a tick can be so small, it could like look like the tip of this pencil point, like literally like a speck of dirt. So you have to be really careful when tick checking. It's not going to be this huge bug like a beetle. It's going to be a little speck like this big on the tip of your body. You know, really run over yourself and see if you feel anything. A tick can live on you for up to 3 days, and once it feeds on your blood and gets 3 days worth of blood, it'll just fall off automatically. It's very rare that you're going to get the classic bullseye rash. I literally just got a text about an hour ago from somebody that found the bullseye rash immediately yesterday, and she wanted to know what she should do. If you find the bullseye rash immediately, you want to get on that antibiotic. It's called doxycycline. You cannot go in the sun in it. You want to get on that for at least 6 weeks. If a doctor tries to prescribe you less than that, you need to fight for 6 weeks. Otherwise, it's not really going to do anything for you. If you are lucky enough to catch it within that, you know, couple of day mark, you should be okay. It's not a guarantee. But once you hit the real symptoms, which come about 4 to 6 weeks after apparently you've been bitten, you kind of, antibiotic really isn't going to do anything for you at that point, unfortunately, except for what happens is you get on an antibiotic and you're on it for a while and it works a little bit and it doesn't stop, it doesn't continue to work, and so then you get on something else. And then you're on antibiotic after antibiotic for so long, and then what happens is that now you're affecting the other organs in your body. It's not good for you being on an antibiotic. So, you know, once you hit that point, you kind of have to figure out other ways to deal with Lyme. And unfortunately, it's really a hard battle to fight. It's something that I live with daily. I am feeling 95% better than what I was feeling. Everybody sees it, you know, but it's hard to say what the rest of my life is going to be like. Am I going to still be doing treatments? Am I going to be cured from it? Like, I have no idea, and it's hard because there's not much research like available to tell you what's going to happen in the future. I do suggest that everybody watch Under Your Skin, Under Our Skin, which is a documentary about Lyme disease. And really, it's an eye-opener. It's really crazy how the government kind of plays a key role in trying to get diagnosed, unfortunately. They want us to stay sick and just go to doctor after doctor and get on medicine after medicine. I'm trying to think, did I forget anything? Have you been listening to me?
A little bit.
What did anything that I didn't touch upon?
No, I think you got it.
And if you see my mug, it says she believes she could, so she did. One of my friends from work gave me this mug. And I always, you know, said this. And I'm doing it. And so this is like my favorite mug that I drink my decaf coffee out of. I started adding things back a little bit because, you know, it's just, I'm human like everybody else. But, yeah, so that's my story. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys are getting good information out of this. It's so hard. I have like a million thoughts running through my head, and I had a list of stuff, and I'm kind of nervous. I never did this before. So, I don't know what else to say. Does anybody have any more questions that they want to ask me? I don't know. But one thing I would ask is if you guys can all maybe share this video to people, and the more and more it gets around, maybe the more people that we can help out. I don't know, that's the one thing. I wish there was something else that I could do. I try to raise awareness by constantly posting on my wall and spreading the word and helping people out. But really, there are so many people out there struggling with Lyme that they don't even know they have it until, you know, they find somebody that went through a similar situation. And I see some people actually on this list right now that have definitely messaged me with questions over the past year. Yeah, no problem. I just spoke to him actually like 3 days ago, I think. So, yeah. And I knew what you meant. Jumped on like, yeah, definitely rewatch. Definitely rewatch. I'm a little flustered right now. I have 16 live viewers. This is pretty cool. But spread the word, share my story. You know, if you could just all share this on your wall, somebody might watch and have a question. I can always go back. Yeah, Kim, I definitely was told it could be fibromyalgia. The symptoms overlap. There are so many overlapping symptoms. And I know I've read your stories and I know you've been dealing with it for so long. I would definitely get checked. Don't go to a regular lab though. Like I said, if you go to IGeneX.com, where did I put it? IGENEX.com. Thanks, Melissa. You can just contact them and you can just order a test kit. It's free. They'll send it to you within a couple of days. And then you have to, the one problem is trying to get somebody to draw your blood, because they're going to tell you they have a test that will solve it, like through Quest Labs. They'll tell you Imogen in Massachusetts is a great lab and we'll do it. I've been through all those labs and nothing ever showed up positive. Oh, I love you too. All those labs showed up negative, and that one lab that came back positive was the IGeneX, and at that point it was CDC positive as well. So, you know, the one thing that really made me mad and actually ticked my mom off as well. So when I got my positive test results back from IGeneX, I went to the doctor who I had gone to every day that told me that I was having anxiety. He actually made me breathe into a brown paper bag, okay? He had me breathe into a brown paper bag in his office with my husband there, telling me I was having panic attacks. And I said to him, check my pulse. I'm not having a panic attack. And he's like, oh yeah, it's not a panic attack. Okay, right there, my husband knew it was definitely something else. But flash forward, after I got my test results back, I went back with my mom. And my mom said, you know, she got these test results back. You know, on the test that you took, one of the bands was positive. And he said to us, well, we go by what the test results say and what the CDC claims. So according to my test, she's negative. And my mom said, but according to the IGeneX test, she is CDC positive. Oh, Chris, I see him every Thursday. He works for Dr. Robbins. He does the ozone on Thursdays, actually. I see him. I thank him all the time. But he said to me, well, we believe test results the first time and we wouldn't have tested you again anyway. And my mom walked out of there and she's like, you are not going back to him anymore. And it was kind of sad because he did save my life back in 2006 when I had 2 bleeding ulcers and almost died. But I will never go back to him again for anything because, I mean, he totally screwed up my whole life for over a year by not checking into anything or taking the time to even say to me that one of these bands was positive, even if he could have just said to me off the record, listen, I can't do anything and say you have Lyme disease, but if you look into this further, you might come up with something because you are testing positive for one of the bands. No, he basically told me, like, you're negative. According to CDC regulations, you're negative, and that's what it is. He was like, it was terrible. Yeah. So that was that. Oh, you don't have to do sad faces because this has all been a learning experience. And I'm kind of coming out on the other side. So this is a good thing. I guess I was made to share my story and help a bunch of people out. I see I'm up to 20 live viewers. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. Anything else that you think that was important to share? Oh, vitamins. Vitamins that you should definitely take. Vitamin D was put on right away. What is it? B12? B12 spray. What else? The vitamin C. Yeah. Oh, you can do Epsom salt baths, which I got really lazy with. The dry brushing of your skin before you go in an Epsom salt bath. If you buy a dry brush, brush off. You want to brush towards your heart and down all over your body. It's supposed to stimulate the lymph in your system. And then when you take the Epsom salt bath, it kind of gets rid of all the toxins that are in your body. I did that a lot in the beginning before I started ozone. Oh, Henry, I'm so proud of you too. Stay safe down there. I've been following you on Facebook and you rock on. Stay safe down in North Carolina. Yeah, that was one thing. The baths, the dry brushing. I go sometimes. I haven't had time, but if you go for the detox foot baths, those are really good. Yeah, Epsom salt baths are awesome. It's just I don't have the time to sit in the bath. The what?
Thing you sit in with that.
Oh, the infrared saunas they say is really good for you. Kim, I don't know if you ever tried that, the infrared sauna. That might actually work. Anything else, Mike? I'm trying to think. This has been going on for so long. Like, literally, I've done everything. If they told me to stand and spin on my head and clap and count to 50, and that would make me feel better, like, that's what I would have done. I got everything. Anything and any supplement that they said that would work, I did it. I found it. The one thing that I did refuse, though, is all the antibiotics that everybody wanted to write. And back in the beginning, when they told me it was anxiety and depression, everybody told me I needed to go on an antidepressant. I actually went on one, knowing willingly that it wasn't something that I needed an antidepressant for, but I just wanted to prove to everybody that I was not crazy. And I actually went on it, and I was like, it was actually making my symptoms worse, which they say is really common. So I immediately went right off of it. They put me on Prozac, and even the doctor that put me on it, she's like, you don't need this, but if you want to try it, try it. So I did, just to kind of like shut everybody up. And I went right off of it because my symptoms were getting worse. And then they were like, oh, now you're having anxiety because you're on this and you feel like you're getting worse. And it's just like nobody was actually listening to what I had to say. It was really, really frustrating. I know it had to be frustrating for my husband. Thank goodness my kids are so small. They don't really remember when mommy was so sick and couldn't get out of bed. Anthony was only 2 and Nicholas was 4. And he just started pre-K. And even when I was home from work, he thought my schedule changed. We told him my schedule changed and that I went to work later, so I got a chance to go bring him to school, and then I went to work, and then I left early to come back and get him. And thank you, Anne-Marie. And Anthony was so little, he came to doctor's appointments with me literally every single day, but he doesn't remember it because he was only 2. I was literally in the cardiologist's office like probably 3 or 4 times a week to make sure that my heart was not going to stop because my pains that I was getting in my chest were so bad. Like, literally would bring him to the doctor's office, that they made friends with him and would like give him food when we were there, chocolate, fruit, anything. They were like his buddy. He has no recollection of that, thank God. Even Nicholas knows that mommy is sick and has Lyme disease. They both know that, but they don't see that person anymore. Thankfully, they were so young because I don't know if they would be able to handle that. I literally could not get out of bed. There were some days that I remember calling my mom and being like, I really can't get out of bed. I cannot do it. And I wouldn't get out of bed. I spent days upon days upon days in bed because I felt so terrible. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. What else do I have written here? The antibiotic, if you find it. Like I said, this is only one folder of all my hospital bills and blood tests. That's only one folder of it. Oh yeah, here I found the Hygienics. It's IGENEX.com. Oh, I love you. Yeah, and like I said, you would want to get the Western blot, the IgG, and the IgM test done. Some doctors like to tell women that it's all in the head. Yeah, it makes me sad that I don't always have the energy to go, oh gosh, Kim, I totally get it. I would totally look into Lyme. Totally look into Lyme. And people always say like, oh, but I live here, there's no Lyme here. Yeah, it's everywhere. If you actually Google now, like about the ticks and the deer ticks, first of all, not only is it even in just ticks, they say now mosquitoes are carrying it, that spiders have it, the green flies at the beach have it. And when the ticks are going on other animals, animals don't just stay in one area. So let's just say a tick is on a bird, and a bird flies somewhere else, and the tick falls off, and now it's someplace else. My doctor tells me that he pulls ticks off his dog all the time in his backyard. He lives in Westbury. You know, they're everywhere. They said last winter that not to get, on the Lyme board groups and the Lyme journals that I read, it was like stay away from real Christmas trees because the ticks were so bad, this past winter, that they didn't go dormant or die. And they were living on the trees, and people were bringing the live trees into their house with ticks on them. And it was like the first year my parents were going to put up like a big Christmas tree again since we've been out of the house. And they're like, we're going to get a real tree. And I was like, I am not coming over your house if you put up a real tree. And I pulled up the article and I was like, you need to get your fake tree up and not get a real one. And they obviously listened because, of course, they want to see us. But they're everywhere. So, Kim, even though I think you're in Maryland, right? Think you're in Maryland. They're all over the place. They're in Florida. I mean, wherever deer are, obviously they're going to be, but it's not even just on deer anymore. And also they say that from the day you're bit, symptoms appear about 4 to 6 weeks later. I don't know if this is coincident or not. You know, who knows? About a month before I got sick, which was August 7th of 2014. I was upstate in July with my whole entire family for my grandmother's birthday, and we were upstate, and I could have gotten a tick there. I don't know. I wasn't always so aware of it, and you know, you always think, no, this is not going to happen to me, and blah blah blah, I'll be fine, and you don't realize what a little bug can do to you. I don't even remember honestly checking for ticks when we were up there. I was also out east a lot that summer, so it could have happened out east. We go to Harb's Farm all the time, you know, we're always out east. Could have been out there. There's deer out there everywhere. So who knows where I could have got it. Could have got it at the beach, you know. Green flies, they say, carry them now. I really don't know. I wish I could pinpoint where it was. I also, one thing I do know is that I got bit by a tick when I was 4. My mom found a tick in my hair, and they say that you can actually have Lyme disease and then it come out later on in life. So who knows if the tick that I got bit by when I was 4 gave me Lyme disease that then came out 30 something years later. I have no idea if that is what the case was. I'm hoping not, because they say your kids can get it from you, which I know a few people that's happened to. I have not got my kids tested yet because I'm kind of scared to go that route. My mom got Lyme on the soccer field in Bethpage. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's so you know, it's not funny but whenever I say to people, oh, I have Lyme, somebody always says, oh, you know, so-and-so had Lyme. This person had it, that person had it. You know, and it's like you wonder if they really got the right treatment. And it's really scary how many people actually have Lyme when you think about it. Like, this is like an epidemic all of a sudden. Everybody I talk to knows somebody that has Lyme, or will say to me, do you mind if I give your number out to somebody because so-and-so had all these symptoms and really the doctors can't figure it out? And I'm like, yeah, give them my number. Tell them to call me right away. You know, or even on Facebook, people are messaging me, can so-and-so contact you? And yes, you can. If you have any questions, please contact me, because I've been through it and I've asked a million questions and I'm still researching and I'm still learning, and I'm just trying to make everybody aware about what is going on. But it's 8:40 now, and I think that's pretty much all that I wanted to say to you guys. Like I said, if you could just maybe share this video on your wall, and maybe somebody else that I don't know this would reach, and maybe trigger something in their head that, you know, maybe they know somebody, or even themselves, that has been dealing with somebody with strange symptoms. If you have strange symptoms and nobody can figure out what it is, it's not always anxiety and depression, I could tell you that. So I would say keep fighting, keep advocating for yourself, and don't give up. And that's one thing that I know I will not do. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to try and raise as much awareness as I can about this. And, you know, hopefully one day, I love you too, Dad. Yeah, thank you, Chrissy. Yeah, share away, please. Please share away. You know, hopefully one day there is some kind of clear-cut cure for this, because I'm sure there is one out there, but it's not going to make as much money as telling people that they don't have it and then prescribing something after something and recommending doctor after doctor. The doctors that I did see, I've been to 3 neurologists, 4 cardiologists, 6 emergency rooms, I would go to a different hospital each time I went, hoping that somebody would find something wrong with me besides anxiety. So I would hospital hop, which is really sad. I would literally hospital hop. I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would drive myself to the hospital, and I would check in and I would tell them I feel like I'm having a heart attack, and they would hook me up and they would be like, "You're fine." Oh, I'm sure there is. Corrupt is right. But yeah, so I've been to 3 neurologists, 4 cardiologists, 6 emergency rooms. I went to an endocrinologist. I went to an allergenist. I went to my regular doctor. I went to a gastro doctor. I went to, oh God, who else did I go to? Oh, I don't even know. I went everywhere. Oh, thank you, Janine. I've been everywhere. Any doctor anybody would say, I would make an appointment the next day for. I went to a bunch of all natural doctors. I went to Connecticut, who helped me. She helped me greatly. Yeah, so I drove to Connecticut. I went to an all natural doctor out in by my sister in Smithtown, who was on the right track to help me, but I think that I was so far into it, he couldn't really help me as much as he wanted. I'm trying to think who else I saw. I don't know, any doctor you could think of, I've been there. Usually when somebody says, "Oh, did you ever hear of Dr. So-and-so?" Yeah, I've heard of him, I've been there, because I would like go down the list of all the top doctors, and they would probably be like, "Oh God, here comes Nicole again." They probably had like, signals for each other. "Oh, here she is, here's the crazy lady." No, but all kidding aside, it's really sad what I had to go through in order to figure this out. So now I'm babbling, and I'm just saying the same thing over and over again, but I do see different people popping on, so I'm kind of repeating myself for you guys so you don't have to sit through this video and watch the whole thing from beginning to end. But yeah, like I said, I always joke around with my friends at work. I'll be like, "Make sure you do your tick checks tonight." I even messaged them before. I was like, "Just to let you know, somebody else messaged me before about Lyme. They found a bullseye rash on their back yesterday. Make sure you do your tick check." My kids are instilled. They know that when we go in the shower, we're doing tick checks. If they're rolling around in the grass, we're doing tick checks. They have become accustomed to that. They even tell me, "Mommy, we forgot to do a tick check," or if we go in the high grass, "There's high grass over there, there's probably ticks in there." I feel bad that I've kind of like made them kind of paranoid about it, but they are definitely aware about it. And I think that's it. Does anybody else have any more questions? Of those of you that are on, I see people are popping on and off. I'm starting to lose some of you, so I think that means that I'm really babbling. Let me see if there was anything else on my list. Oh, if you want more information about the Ozone Doctor, you can go to his website is ozonedoctor.net, and he's the actual he's one of the world leading ozone doctors in the world. He went to Sri Lanka and he cured the Ebola virus over in Sri Lanka using ozone. He's amazing. He really is. And he truly believes in what he does, which is unbelievable. Oh yeah, even pathetically, you want to know what I did? This is what I did. I would even, oh gosh, I'm admitting this, but this is how desperate I was. I would call psychics and go to psychics to see if they can figure out what was wrong with me, to tell me if I was having a medical issue. Literally, no joke. I went to probably 3 or 4 psychics, and if one didn't tell me, I was like, "They're no good. Something is wrong. I'm gonna go to another one." And I actually did have one. I saved all my notes, and I actually did have a psychic tell me to look into Lyme back in February of 2015, around the same time that this girl Tracy that I went to high school with, I contacted, and she told me about Lyme, and they were right. Like she didn't say you have Lyme, but she was like, "Did you ever look into Lyme?" And I kind of ignored her there. What did they say? Hey, they were right. Yeah. When I told her, she was like, "I'm seeing something with like Lyme. Do you have Lyme?" And it kind of just like passed me by, because that was even before I knew of all the symptoms of Lyme. And with Lyme, I thought it was more or less like really bad joint pain. And that wasn't one of my major symptoms. My Lyme is so neurological, like with the bad headaches, the bad neck pain. I mean, everybody at work would be like, "You're having a bad day," and I'd be like, "How do you know?" And it's because I'm holding the back of my head. Yeah, I know. How pathetic. I went to psychics, right? I have all their numbers, Chrissy. Don't worry. I would walk around with my head like this, and this is how people would know I'd have a bad day, because the pain in my neck was so bad. Again, the eye pain I get, the tremors and the vibrations in my body were just terrible. So like everything I was getting, and the chest pain, like everything was all over the place, and just very all over the place and very neurological. So I didn't even think of Lyme then. And when she said it, I kind of just like brushed it off, because I really thought I had some kind of like heart problem. Like I thought I was going to have a heart attack. So I wasn't even connecting those two until, months after, and then I got tested. But yeah, I would call psychics, and I would call psychic mediums, and I would hope that somebody would be able to tell me something. Like pathetically, I drove all the way out to where was it? It was like exit 63 to just see if this lady could tell me something. And she wasn't even the one that actually told me about Lyme, but I didn't care where I was being told to drive to. I just wanted an answer so bad. It's so crazy how desperate you will get to find an answer, that you will do anything, like literally anything, to help you find an answer, from going to emergency room, doctor to doctor, having blood constantly drawn, and then going to psychics and psychic mediums to help you figure it out. Like I could laugh about it now, but really when I was living it, like I truly was like, this psychic is going to tell me what I'm dealing with. So it's kind of crazy. Oh, I just had another thought in my head that I wanted to say, and I forgot what it was. Oh, it was important too. Maybe it'll come back to me in a second. Yeah, I don't think it had to do with the psychics. I'm trying to think. But everybody said, when I started Ozone, how long did it take me to start feeling better? Nothing is going to happen overnight, and that was the one thing. And I felt worse before I started getting better. So I started Ozone. The first time I was at Ozone, I literally almost passed out in his office. He had to hook me up to an oxygen tank, and I was really scared to go back. And he was like, "Nicole, I'm telling you, you have to come back tomorrow." And I was like, all right. And I went back, and then I went back every day from there. And I want to say he was right. He told me between my 24th and my 36th treatment that I was going to start to feel small improvements. And I did. And I always said to everybody, the real test will be when I can start working out again, because everybody knows that was my one true passion. So I started in November, and in January of 2015, so like 2 months later, I would get on the treadmill and walk literally 2 minutes, and then I would stop. And then the next day I would walk 2 minutes again, and I'd stop. And then I would get on for 3 minutes. And I didn't tell anybody I was doing this. I don't even think Mike knew I was doing this, because I just wanted to see. And then little by little I got to 5 minutes. And that was such an accomplishment, to walk for 5 minutes on the treadmill. And then I got to 10 minutes on the treadmill. And then by the end of January, I was running for 1 minute. I mean, that does not sound like a lot, but when you have not worked out for a year and a half, when you are a true runner, that was the greatest accomplishment ever. And I built onto that from there. And then my sister asked me to do a race with her. I believe this Midtown Mile was in April. I forget when it was, whenever it was. And I signed up. I'm like, this is going to be my goal. I'm going to do the Midtown Mile, and I'm going to do it. And I did it, and I came in first in my age group. There was probably only me in the age group, but I came in first. And then I did a 5K in May of that year, so I did 3 miles, and then I've been running since. And today I ran 5 miles, 4 miles, and then I walked a mile. I did CrossFitting over the summer, which I loved and was obsessed with, but it was really hard on my joints, so I had to stop because I was really starting to get bad joint pain from it, so I didn't want to affect anything. But I do miss CrossFit, so if I have any of you CrossFit 165 people watching, I do miss, and I hope to come back one of these days. But I did take away a lot, and one thing that really has never affected any joints or anything like that is running. I think my body is just so used to that. So people might get sick and tired of seeing my workout posts on Instagram and Facebook, but like this is like, you don't know how amazing it feels to even be able to post that, and that's why I do post it. it was really torture to not be able to run. And that was my true test. I said to even the doctor, when I could start working out again, that's when I'm going to believe you that this works. And, you know, little by little, he was right. He was like, your bad days are going to turn into better days. And then you're going to have one good day, and then they're going to be a string of good days. And he was so right that when I do have a bad day, it's so frustrating. And he always says to me, Nicole, remember, that's how you felt every day for over a year. And it's right. You don't realize how bad you actually feel until you are feeling good and then have that bad day. You know, this morning I woke up and I felt like, I said to my husband, I feel like I have a hangover. I don't feel right. Now, I don't know if it was just, I don't know what it was, but I just did not feel right at all. But it only lasted a little while, and then I was able to go for a run tonight. So it's kind of like those increments of me not feeling well are getting smaller and smaller, and that's how I know that I'm getting better each day. So yeah, so that's my story in a nutshell. It has been a year and about 2 months now that I've been dealing with this. It's been, no, 2 years and 2 months that I've been dealing with this. It's been a year and 2 months that I've actually known what it is. And figures, because you're drinking cheap beer, Dad. And it's been almost a year that I've had this treatment. Which has been phenomenal and literally saved my life. So yeah, that's all I think I have to say now. I know I said that already, but does anybody else have any other questions? No? Are we good? Chrissy, are you laughing at my comment to my dad, or that I'm babbling? Thank you, Janine. Just trying to do what I do. Anyone else? This is kind of cool that people are able to ask me questions and I was able to answer them. I like that. Cheap beer. Yeah. Bud Light. I don't know. Trying to think anything else. No? Well, if anybody ever has any questions and you feel silly commenting on this, you can either Facebook message me. And, oh, thank you, Elisa. I was so jealous of you guys did a 5K the other day. That looked so much fun. I can't get Mike to run more than down the block with me. I hope one day I can get to him to run a 5K with me. If you have questions, you could message me on Facebook. You could send me a message. You could email me. The email is ntot07@gmail.com. Or you can always text me if you have my phone number, or you can message me to get my phone number. And don't ever feel like you're bothering me, because this, I get so happy when I feel like I can help somebody figure it out, because it was like a puzzle trying to figure this hell out. It was pure torture. Yes, I know, Michelle, I talked, that was a while ago. Did you ever get checked? Michelle, did you ever end up getting checked through Hygienics? I know we spoke about it. You did. What ended up happening? I forget. Oh, thank you, Stacy. Really? Was any of them IND? Like, see how on mine I have one that's IND? Did you ever have any of that? Oh. Okay. You should maybe look into the ozone one. He might be able to help you with that. And he's so close to us. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you checked for it anyway. That's nice. Similar symptoms, yeah. They say that fibromyalgia, I think chronic fatigue, and Lyme have symptoms that all overlap, because I had a few doctors tell me, okay, I will. I had a few doctors tell me Lyme, I had a few doctors tell me fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. Oh, this is what I wanted to tell you. If you are, okay, this is really important. if you feel like you might have Lyme or you're not sure, and you get all your blood tests back, what was a big key for one of my doctors? I forget who it was. It might not even have been a doctor. It might have been the girl Tracy I'm telling you about. She asked me if my Epstein-Barr virus numbers, how they were. And they were skyrocketed. I'm trying to see if I could find the results here. I had a doctor draw blood. Yeah, this is what it was. I had an allergenist draw blood. I was so desperate I went anywhere, and he drew all my bloods, and he called me and said all my bloods were fine except for my Epstein-Barr virus numbers. And when I went for my Epstein-Barr virus numbers, I had really high acute and old, like new and old Epstein-Barr viruses. My numbers were skyrocketed, and they said that was really unusual. But then as more and more as I read into it, it's really common with patients with Lyme disease. They say it's actually like, I don't know if I'm totally right here. They say it's like a co-infection of Lyme. So like, if my Epstein virus, my old numbers, like it should be less than 18, and my EBV virus was at 159. It should be less than 18. And then my new Epstein-Barr numbers at that point should be less than 36, and they were at 95. And then one of the early antigen detections should be less than 9, and mine were over 136. So all my numbers were skyrocketed, and they said that that's actually very common. But the doctors were like, oh, well, you had mono when you were young. That's why they're high. But then as I was reading into it, the old and the new shouldn't have been both high like that at the same time. So I always tell everybody when they say they had all blood work done to just look at their EBV virus numbers and see where they were at. Can I send you the info of the test I had? Yeah. Through IGenics, you mean? Stacy, through the IGenics lab. That was one important thing about the EBV. I always tell people to check on that. It kind of slipped my mind before. Okay, yeah, I'll send you that information. But it's really, if you just go on IGenX.com, and then you want to, you could just order the kit from there, contact them. You just order the kit. It's free. They'll send it to you. And then when you get the paperwork, it's so confusing. Once you get the kit, you can message me and I'll tell you exactly what to do. Because me even telling you, it's so confusing when you get the papers to actually fill out inside. So I'll let you know exactly what to do. Just tell me when you get it. It takes like a couple of days for the kit to get sent to you. But I told you the hardest part is getting somebody to draw the blood for you, because they're going to tell you that their labs are fine and they're not. Yeah, I had to like beg one of my cardiologists to do the blood for me. Did you ever, yeah, Melissa, you messaged me. Did you ever get the blood drawn? See, I have a whole bunch of people on here that have been contacting me for years. Yeah, Diana, yeah, something like that. I read that somewhere. It's crazy. There's too many things to know about yourself. Oh, good. That's awesome, Stacey, because I had to beg people. They would not draw the blood for me. I had Lyme tests 3 times from 3 different doctors through there, told me their perfect lab, and they all came back negative. So that's great. Anything else? All right. Well, it is 9 o'clock, and that means it's time for me to go to bed because I have to be up at 5 o'clock to be at my doctor at 6:30, so I could wait for him to open at 7, so I could be at work at 7:45 to be in my first period cafeteria duty. So I am going to get off and I'm going to go to sleep and try to get as much sleep in as I can between my now and my alarm at 5:30. But like I said, if you can share this on your wall to spread awareness. If anybody ever has any questions, please contact me. And if you didn't watch the whole video, I do ramble a lot, but think that you should watch the beginning. I think I put a lot of useful information for people out there. And like I said, if you get a chance, definitely watch that documentary, Under Our Skin, because it really is truly an eye opener to the Lyme world. Even if you don't have it, definitely watch it. So good night, guys, and hopefully I'll have updates for you in the next coming months. Okay, good night.